Drawing cars can be challenging, and I thought I'd go ahead and show the way I approach drawing vehicles, specifically a Hot Wheels car, the Red Baron, using some digital techniques. So what I'm doing here is I'm making a series of circles. That's going to be my unit of measure for the side view for this particular car. And I'll throw a link to this particular technique that I'm using for measurement in the description below. And here I'm just outlining and blocking out the measurements for each midpoint for the circles, and I'm using Command J to make duplicates, and this will just give me a framework with which to go ahead and plan the dimensions of my car. I'll be drawing this car in the side view here, and with the layer now somewhat transparent, I'll block in the wheels, just very roughly sketch them. In the Red Baron Hot Wheels car, the back wheel is bigger than the front wheel, and so using references for this particular car, which are off screen, I'm now going into the sketching phase. Some of the curves that this car has are a little bit challenging, so you'll see me hit undo a couple of times. That's totally par for course when you're digital drawing. There are curved tools that I suppose I could be using. I'm not really trying to be super precise with this. So you can see that I'm just leaving some, my sketch is rough. And it's the point where I go ahead and just check my proportions and make adjustments and subtract things that don't need to be there. So now I'm going to focus on the Red Baron's helmet. This particular car has a very unusual top part, which is the form of a German military helmet. Now I'm working through the engine. I rotate the canvas with the R key. It's just easier to draw lines that are curved when their curves are being pulled towards you. I'll rotate back to the normal view to draw my straight lines, holding down the Shift key. And I'm kind of cheating a little bit of a one-point perspective view here, but not much, by drawing in the back wheels. So now I'm ready to take this particular sketch and I'm going to formalize it, and I'm using the Hedge Stylus, link in the description, to create a set of red line wheels. If you do enough Hot Wheel drawings, it's not a bad idea to make your own set of wheels, your own red line wheels, on a separate Photoshop file, and then import those in, and that's typically what I do, but for this particular demo I'm drawing them from scratch. And programs like Hedge Stylus allow you to draw really nice clean circles as if you're using a circle template, which is what I would be doing if I was drawing this traditionally. I would probably also use a French curve. You can see that some of these curves are not exactly pretty. The long sweeping curves is where I would use a French curve if I had one. And I think that Hedge Stylus also allows for drawing curved lines, but again, I'm being a little bit sloppy here. So the reason why I'm using that circular grid is it allows me to make some quick measurements between where the wheels are currently stationed, the relative height of the helmet, and it really makes for checking my proportions to make sure my proportions are correct. So that back part of the helmet's giving me a little bit of difficulty there. Now I'm ready to turn off the layers for my preliminary sketch. I'm going to just try to clean up some of these lines. I'm outlining areas that are going to be dark. I'm also throwing a little bit of shadow to ground the vehicle in. The technique that I'm using here borrows pretty liberally from what I've seen Scott Robertson do on his channel, and I've also got some of his books, and I'm just simply practicing this particular technique. This is not normally how I draw my cars, but I think that it's a very, very powerful technique, and I'm planning on drawing side views using this particular approach. What I find is that it's easier to get proportions right by having a grid. This video is sped up to be twice as fast. Drawing spokes can be tricky, especially 5-spoke wheels. This is where looking at references, I think, can be very helpful. And what I'm going to do is I'm drawing the spokes once, and I'm going to just duplicate it by hitting Command J. And then, since the back wheel is a little bit bigger than the front wheel, I had to make some adjustments by scaling the mags so that they would fit properly into that front wheel. Now I'm just merging all my layers, adding a little bit of depth to that helmet. And this is something that I've seen Scott do when he's drawing his vehicles, and he mentions that he removes the bottom part of the wheels to make it look like the tires are resting on a surface. They're not going to be fully round when they're resting on a surface. It just gives that illusion of weight. And I'll throw a link to Scott's channel so you can watch it. He's got a lot of great videos. So here I'm using the technique that I've shown in a previous video, where I select everything outside of my vehicle and then do the inverse and then fill in a color. I'm not worried about the wheels, the parts that are white right now. I'll fill that in towards the very end. But here is where I'm actually starting to think about my color choices. And I'm using a combination of my selection tools to quickly fill those colors in. I first start out with color flats, and I'm modeling the colors based upon the photo reference that I have for this particular car. And the only reason I'm not including the photo reference here is because it's a copyrighted image. So now I'm adding some material. The helmet is a shiny part. There are certain parts of the paint that are also catching light. And so I'm just following the reference on that. Now I'm adding areas of dark values. It'll hopefully make the side view look less flat. At least that's my intent. When drawing vehicles, when you're learning how to draw vehicles, I think it's really a good idea to work with an existing reference and get comfortable with that idea before you start to make your own vehicles. You want to have some kind of a background, some frame of reference to understand some of the different, types of vehicles and body shapes, etc. And I think selecting a Hot Wheels car is a good way to have a small model that you can look at. If you actually have a Hot Wheels car, looking at it allows you to be able to, study it with greater detail. So there we go. The car's done. Well, I hope you found this video to be useful. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.